Hey friends, this is Quest and Current, and today's video is about a cable that was actually recommended by one of my viewers. So thank you very much for actually showing me this cable or linking this cable and explaining what's wrong with it. But before we start, we are going to test this USB-C cable, and I bought this with my own money, and it would be great if you could support me via YouTube Premium or any other kind of subscription that helps out the channel in investigating cables like this. So let's get into the meat. The cable itself is made by eMarked, beyond safe, beyond fast, with a 3-year warranty, which is great. And it's a USB-C cable which features the D5cc swoosh cord, something that I've honestly never heard about, so not sure. Swoosh cord plus hyper fast, 100-watt cable. So I'm really not sure what all those kind of things mean, but it is specified to be rated for 100 watts of charging power. So most certainly 20 volts at 5 amps, because that's what's most commonly available. The packaging itself is quite unremarkable, and there's not a lot to say about this. So as you can see, I've already opened it and took a peek inside, just so I know what's inside without actually having to think about this on camera. And yeah, so you can verify the authenticity of this cable, which is interesting. And I'm not sure if the brand itself, the eMarked, is owned by Amazon, or it just says Amazon on the sticker. But the manual itself is pretty much straightforward. So it says, yeah, a fast charge, certified charger and device capable. Okay, so it's not only the cable, it's also the charger and your phone or laptop that has to be compliant. And there it says, yes, 480 megabits per second data speed. So it's a 100-watt charging cable and 480 megabits per second data transmission cable, which is straight up USB 2 speeds. And yeah, so that's about it. The 3-year warranty and lifetime technical assistance. Yeah, I mean, whatever that means. So let's get into the cable itself, so that we actually know what we're talking about. The cable feels quite sturdy, so it feels quite well made. The fabric sleeve, which is probably the default option nowadays for all the cables that you can buy, feels well enough. It's obviously not too thick of a cable, so it can't be more than USB 2.0 speed, or they're just lying with the cable. They've also included this little rubber, I'm not sure if that's called a zip tie or whatever, so you can in any way use it to hold the cable in any kind of round circular fashion. And the plug itself, again, so it's not the official USB logos on top, which would indicate, besides the charging speed, also the data transmission speed. But it seems that manufacturers have agreed on not putting them on, even though the official USB guys say that they have to if they want to be certified. But in any way, it says fast charge 100 watt in EU, and I'm quite sure that there is an LED in there in the connector that lights up once you've connected it to a charger. And I'm going to try that out. So I've plugged it into a charger. Let's plug it into here. And no, there's no LED. It just looks like there should be an LED, but there isn't, and not on the other side either. But yeah, you can see it works as a cable, at least for charging. And then let's get in the cable tester, and I'm going to plug it into a different outlet so we can actually see what the cable can do, because we cannot use the cable while we're testing the cable. And then I'm connecting it to the BLE cable queue, and let's take a look. Okay. Now I know why the cable was sent to me, and I'm not sure if you've listened carefully before my rambling blah blah, but the cable itself is supposed to be a USB 2 cable, with 480 megabits, but it says they're 20 gigabits per second cable. So the 100 watt charging power, so the voltage and current seem to be in order. 100 watts means that it is USB PD, power delivery enabled cable. That means that there's a little eMarker IC, a little chip inside one of the connectors of the cable, or both of them, that can advertise what the cable is capable of. That's something that all cables above 60 watts have to have, and also above the 2.0 transmission speeds. But the manufacturer says it's a USB 2 cable, but the eMarker says that it's at least a USB 3 cable. Let's focus on here. The cable is new, so the cable health is at 100%. And now we can see, okay, there is a mismatch between the overview, where it's definitely not USB, and the specs where it says USB 2.0 and not 3, 3.1 or 4 or whatever. So let's take a look. Yeah, like I said, it's a 20 volt at 5 amp cable. So that's where the 100 watt rating comes from. And if you take a look at the pinout, then yeah, so the eMarked IC is advertising the cable as being capable of actually handling anything above USB 2 speeds, but the pins are not connected. So what you would need for USB 3 or 4 speeds were the RX1, RX2, TX1, and TX2 differential transmission pairs. So that are these two, these two, these two, and these two. And since there are none of them actually routed through, it's not a USB 4 or 3.2, 3.1, whatever cable, it's just a USB 2 cable. Because the two pins used for USB 2 are either those up to, the plus and the minus, or down there, depending on the orientation of the connector you plug in. What we can also see is V-bus and ground connections, that are the outermost are ground and the innermost are V-bus. So those are always 4 times there, so that you can flip the connector around and it will still be V-bus and ground on the same pinouts, and also to increase the current handling capabilities of the connector itself. Additionally, the the CC1 and CC2 pins for the power delivery negotiations of the integrated eMarker. And now I am talking about eMarker, so I've already shown you the connected pins, the V-bus ground, CC2, CC1, D plus and D minus. What we didn't see is the shield, so they did connect the shield. That's also something that can be done. The V-bus resistance is at 63 milliohms, which is perfectly fine for a cable of this length. I'm quite sure it's 1.5 or 2 meters, so perfectly reasonable. But the most interesting part is the eMarker information, because that's where it says that it's a, it's actually telling us that it's a USB 3.2 or USB 4 cable, Gen 2. So the cable itself is advertising its capabilities in terms of data transmission speed as USB 4 Gen 2 or USB 3.2 speeds. And that's definitely above the actual or the actual data transmission capabilities of the cable. And what they've also done is they put the vendor ID as 0000. So they didn't put in any vendor ID at all, which would also indicate that they are not actually certified with the USB guys, with the USB IF. And they didn't get any vendor ID from them, and therefore they cannot put any vendor ID on the eMarker chip that's inside the cable, inside the connector. And this means that they just put in straight up the data that they wanted to see here, the 20 volts and 5 amps, because it is heavily advertised as a 100 watt, let me take a look, hyper fast swoosh cord plus charging cable. So that's what they actually wanted to advertise, but they seemed to forget or seem to have reused an eMarker IC that was programmed to say it's a USB 3 or 4 cable, while practically it's only USB 2 cable. So I'm quite interested in what devices that actually want to transmit data over USB 3 or 4 would do, because they would try to start the USB 3 or 4 negotiation and fail all the time because the cables are just not connected. And I'm not sure what kind of data transmission speed decrease you would see compared to a regular USB 2 cable that would actually advertise itself correctly as a USB 2 cable. So that's something that I'm honestly not certain about. But in any way, while the cable itself seems interesting and pretty much off-the-shelf, standard, whatever USB 100 watt charging cable you can buy of any online retailer or offline, it's interesting that they actually wrongly marked it with the eMarker and didn't pay for the official vendor ID, especially if this company eNeo, I actually have to look that up every time, is owned by Amazon, or at least is heavily selling on Amazon, to the fact that there's an Amazon sticker by Amazon on there. So if you have any questions, just let me know. You can put them in the comments below. You can write me an email. As always, thanks for watching, and it would be nice if you could subscribe.